Hello, and welcome back to the Grunt Perspective. In this video, we're going to be talking about your medical equipment. So this is the first in a series of videos that I want to make about all different types of things that the infantryman needs to carry. NVGs, admin equipment, like radios, some different types of munitions and things like that. But the first that I want to make is going to be medical. To talk a little bit about medical, the way that you're carrying your medical kit should be heavily influenced by SOPs. It should be standardized, it should be organized, and it should be made in a manner that is going to make the treating of casualties easier, because it is inherently very difficult. So anything that we can do to make it easier is going to be better. The problem with it is a lot of times SOPs go high and to the right, where it turns into everyone's going to have their IFAK on their left cummerbund and their tourniquets on their right cummerbund in an effort to standardize it across the board, because that in theory will make the treating of casualties easier. But the problem that a lot of people don't realize is that is often at the expense of the comfort and the efficiency of the dude that's wearing his kit. SOPs have to be built with enough inherent flexibility to allow people to still adhere to the SOP and make it organized, like I said, and standardized. But there has to be some flexibility so the dude that's wearing the gear can actually set his equipment up in a manner that makes a lot of sense for him and his specific job and billet, and can allow him to still be within the confines of SOP. You can't just tell people that they need to carry something on one specific location, because dudes are tall, dudes are short, dudes are skinny, dudes are big. And on top of that, dudes have all types of different billets. They got, dudes who are riflemen, dudes who are vehicle mounted, dudes who are grenadiers, dudes who are platoon sergeants and squad leaders, and all types of different billets that are going to require people to carry some different things and to set their gear up in some different ways that are going to make it easier to do their job. So to talk about some things that you should build into a medical SOP, the first one is going to be your marking plan. How is this equipment marked? Is it marked with something like this? Is that sufficient, or do we need to put that as well as EDI, PI, and blood type on there? How are the tourniquets marked? Are they going to be just written with TQ on whatever pouch that you want, or are they all going to be carried in the issued pouch so there's no confusion, right? Neither one of those is wrong, but there needs to be some sort of a marking plan so someone can come up to someone else and immediately identify where their equipment is and be able to start treating them. The second thing is, what are we carrying? What is in the IFAK? The chances are that if you're in the military, the contents of your IFAK is everything that you were issued with your original IFAK. And there's nothing inherently wrong with that, but if you get with your medic or your corpsman, you can maybe choose to dial it up to add some extra stuff, or you can choose to dial it back because he's got a bunch of that and he doesn't need you to carry a dry burn dressing or a cravat. Like, he just wants you to carry some of the other stuff, right? Some more of the other stuff. How many tourniquets are we carrying, right? Like, these are things that need to be standardized. The third thing is, where is it going to be at? Now, this is where it gets weird, where it ends up with the IFAK on the left cummerbund and the tourniquets wherever the fuck, right? I think a sufficient guideline for where this equipment needs to be at is it needs to be in a location where the dude that's wearing the gear can access it with one hand. That kind of narrows it down to a few locations, like the front of your body, the back of your body, or a belt, essentially. But that still gives guys enough room to flex and to set their stuff up in a manner that makes sense for them. And the last thing is, can this equipment be carried in any sort of configuration of equipment that you are going to use on a day-to-day basis? In a chest rig, or with a slick plate carrier, in a belt kit, or a fully set up plate carrier. Like, the short answer is, it is going to be carried in any configuration of equipment that you have, but it is something that needs to be standardized. That, like, hey, you're always going to have your IFAK on you. Right? It doesn't matter what you're wearing. Like, it's going to be on you, essentially. So those are some things that you should build into your SOP that still allow for a good amount of organization and standardization, but still allow a good amount of flexibility for the dude that's wearing the kit to actually set his gear up in a manner that makes sense. So the first thing that I'm going to talk about here is tourniquets. A little bit of debate on tourniquets, and the main debate is how many tourniquets should you carry? Some people say 4 because you got 4 limbs. Some people say 1 because you only need 1 tourniquet to treat yourself, and you should, there's going to be a lot of dudes around you with a bunch of more tourniquets, and if you need more, then they're going to have more. Neither one of those are essentially wrong. I think that one of them is probably more right than the other, but what I think is you need to have a minimum of 2 tourniquets in a position on your body that you can reach with either hand one-handed. So now's a good time to talk about the diver's triangle. I think it's called the diver's triangle, but it's essentially from your shoulders to your crotch, right? The space on the front of your body that you can access with either hand one-handed no matter what. That is where your tourniquets need to live. They need to be up in the front, somewhere that you can get to them. Guys like to put them on the sides of placards, on the bottom of placards, on the bottom of danglers. All of those spots are good to go, but they need to be somewhere where you can get to them easily and quickly. A little bit more, how are we carrying these things? Are they going to be in a pouch? Are they going to be rubber banded? To talk a little bit about like rubber banding, so contrary to what you think I'm probably going to say, there's nothing wrong with rubber banding under the assumption that you have a lot of, like, a surplus of tourniquets that you can swap tourniquets out with. When a tourniquet is out and exposed to the elements, it's going to degrade. It's going to get sand, mud, dirt, and sunlight on that tourniquet. And over time, that can degrade that tourniquet pretty significantly to the point where it's going to break when you try to apply it, or you're going to go to pull it out and it's just going to be so fucking full of shit that it's not going to be able to be used. But like I said, if rubber banding makes sense to you and you got all the tourniquets in the world, then that's a good way to do it, because you can pull it off fast and you can apply it fast. For infantrymen, I think that the best way to do it is to have your tourniquet in some form of a protected pouch. The issued tourniquet pouch is good because it does protect it, but these are the ones that I like. They're the T3 gear, the tourniquet pouches. You can see that it's clearly marked in accordance with SOP. You pull it open. You can see that I'm doing this with one hand, right? And then you can pull your tourniquet out. I keep 2 up front, again, in the diver's triangle, so they are easy to get to, and I can get to them in a hurry. One more thing to add about tourniquets is a lot of dudes will carry some different types of tourniquets. Like in the military, the majority of us are issued CAT Gen 7 tourniquets, but some dudes like to carry soft T wide tourniquets because they feel like they work better. Not to say that they don't, but they just like that tourniquet more. That can be a problem. Not that a soft T wide is hard to use, but just any other type of tourniquet, right? If this is the first time that the dude that's treating you has ever seen this type of tourniquet and he's trying to apply it to you while he's under fire, jacked up on adrenaline, and you're screaming and bleeding, he might have a lot of trouble trying to apply that tourniquet to you. So 2 options: you either only use one type of tourniquet, which is what I would recommend, or everyone in your unit has to be trained on both types of tourniquets. But like I said, I would recommend just one type of tourniquet. So to summarize, at least 2 in the diver's triangle, in a protected pouch, and only one type of tourniquet within the whole unit. Let's talk about IFAKs now, and IFAK location and pouches. I'll preface this by saying that I understand that an IFAK is not meant to be used by the individual that's wearing it. It's meant to be used by someone else that comes up to me and they pull out my IFAK and they treat me with my IFAK, right? If you read between the lines a little bit there and do a little bit of mental gymnastics, that sounds an awful lot like I can put my IFAK wherever the fuck that I need to put it so it's out of the way, because it doesn't matter, because I am never going to be the guy that's accessing that IFAK. It's going to be someone else who's using it to treat me. And if that's the way that you want to think about it, then I guess you're not wrong. But why would you not want to have your IFAK in a position where you can also access it? You're just like, why would you want to put yourself in a position where you have to wait for someone to get to you, again, under fire, and begin treating you because you can't reach your IFAK? That's just stupid. So some good ways to carry an IFAK in a position where you can reach it. Number one is going to be the dangler. The dangler is a good option if you meet some certain criteria with it. One, you need to be able to pull the contents out and hold it in your hands. An easy way and cheap way to achieve this is with an insert, right? You fill this up with your equipment, you stuff that into any dangler, and you make sure that it's clearly marked so you can zip it out and you can pull it up and you can hold the contents. Why do I think that that's so important? One, some danglers are easier to get in than others, but all of them are kind of a pain in the ass to get in. And all of them are a pain in the ass to see in, especially if you're not super rehearsed on where and what the items are within that IFAK. It's going to be a pain in the ass to get into yourself. Another thing is the person that's trying to treat you is going to have to deal with the entire weight of your flak as they're trying to get into your IFAK to treat you, where it could be so much so much easier if they could just pull it out and physically hold it in their hands and, you know, open it up and treat you with this, and then they can close it up and they can shove it back in if they need to, right? So an insert is good, or any type of dangler that you can pull off. Coyote Tactical Solutions makes one that has a pouch that like Velcros on and then clips on. You just unclip it, then pull the pouch off. That's a good option. This one specifically is a Shaw Concepts Raid dangler. This usually has a first spear tube on the back of it. I've taken it off because I'm using it as a fanny pack here, but it usually has a first spear tube that will hook into the first spear tube that they give you when it ships to you, and you can just pull the whole thing off and, again, physically hold it in your hands. So on the front in a dangler is a good option if you meet that criteria with it, so you can actually hold it and pull it out. Another option is going to be the belt mount. The belt mount is good if you can use a belt. There's a lot of dudes that just can't use belts. One, because they're vehicle mounted, or two, maybe they're like a straight leg grunt infantrymen, right? And they have a heavy rucksack on a lot of the time, and they don't want to wear a belt with a rucksack like most dudes don't. Most dudes have a problem with it. Some dudes don't. I have a problem with it, so I try to not keep my medical equipment on a belt, because that's going to be something that I'm going to have to take off and stow onto my rucksack to be able to, you know, walk. But if that's not a problem for you, the belt is a great option, because you can put this pouch wherever that you need to put it on the belt, and it doesn't matter, because you can just take the belt off and then you can access all of your equipment. This is a bad example because this hooks into an inner belt with G-hook, so that would be a little bit hard to get off. But most belts have just a clip in the front or a buckle in the front that you could easily just unclip, pull the whole thing off, and then you could put your belt down and you could get all of your shit easily. So the belt is good if you are someone who can use a belt all the time and you don't ever have to worry about like taking your belt off for any sort of reason. Last option, and the option that I prefer the most, is a fanny pack. I like a fanny pack because I don't like to have a belt on, as I just got done saying. But it's also great because it allows me to have it on me all the time, even with a rucksack on. I can just adjust the strap down so it sits a little bit lower, put it on the back of my body, on my butt, and then I hang it down low, and I put my rucksack over the top of it, and I fix my hip belt like I normally would. And I still have it on me if I have to drop my rucksack. Like I still have it all. Like, you know, I still got all of my gear on me. This is a Spiritus fanny sack. This would go especially well paired with this insert here. Put all your shit in there. You make sure it's clearly marked with your patch of Velcro that you Gorilla Glued on there because you're a fucking caveman like me. And that works out well. The one that I prefer is the Shaw Concepts Raid pouch. I like this one a lot because it's a good size. It allows me to adjust it in the way that I want to use it. And it's very organized and very clean. I got a tourniquet on the bottom. I would appreciate if this was MOLLE, so I could put my own type of fully enclosed pouch on the bottom, but I guess you can't get everything that you want, right? But I got another tourniquet there. And then inside here, I have all of my shit in a manner that it's not going to fucking fall out, right? It's going to be in there. It's going to be retained, and someone can pull this off of me and they can set it down next to me while they're trying to treat me, or I can treat myself because I'm not a dumbass and I don't have my IFAK on my back cummerbund. Don't mean to offend people with that, but that's just the way that I feel about it, right? So the fanny pack is probably it's certainly the best option for me. Not to say that it's going to be the best option for you, but between the three ways that you could carry it here, I think that one of these ways is going to work good for you: the dangler, the fanny pack, or the belt mount. All that being said, I hope that this video was helpful. If you guys have comments, you can hit me up in the comment section, or you can DM me on Instagram with any questions, or if you want to comment some things that you do. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.